Ladies and gentlemen, in an absolutely stunning development, the IRS has completely surrendered to President Trump, agreeing to hand over the personal identification information of almost every single illegal immigrant currently inside of the country. Now, allegedly, this agreement to hand over all of this illegal immigrant identification information comes after the head of the IRS, Melanie Krause, agreed to step down in order to avoid criminal prosecution for concealing the information of all of these illegal immigrants. And so now, as a consequence of this entire situation, the IRS is no longer being headed by a radical progressive activist, and President Trump and the fine gentleman working at ICE now have access to the information of millions of illegal immigrants. And so, ladies and gentlemen, between you and me, I'd expect deportations to pick up in speed here in the very near future. But now, I'm sure many of you are wondering, how do all of these illegal immigrants even have social security numbers in the first place? Don't you need to be a United States citizen to get a social security number? Well, as it would turn out, the answer is no. In fact, take a look at what Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency just discovered a couple days ago.
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. And there's a lot of great people there that showed us really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff that we're working on. You've heard some of that already. But this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident.
You hear that, folks? During the Biden administration, millions of illegal immigrants were just given Social Security numbers. But you know what? It gets even worse. Take a look at this.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep.
No.
They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example.
So, folks, did you catch all of that? The Biden administration intentionally gave out Social Security numbers to millions of illegal immigrants in an attempt to replace American voters and subvert our country's democratic process, and millions of them have actively been collecting not just Social Security payments, but also Medicaid payments as well. And ladies and gentlemen, you know who's been paying for all of that? That's right, all of us hardworking American taxpayers. That's who. Seriously, folks, the Biden administration's plan was to open up the border to allow tens of millions of illegal immigrants into the country, then to have all of us American taxpayers subsidize the existence of our own replacements. Folks, let this be a reminder here that all of these radical progressives hate America and want to replace every single American with an immigrant from the third world. But you know what? Their plan failed. We all put President Trump back in the White House, and now President Trump has the personal identification information for every single one of these illegal immigrants that have just been existing in this country at the expense of the American taxpayer. But hey, check this out. As if this entire situation isn't infuriating enough, take a look at this. Everyone's favorite communist congressional representative, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, chimed in on all of this, saying, "The cruel spree to terrorize immigrants screws over all working Americans. Undocumented people pay billions into Medicare, Social Security, and programs that they are ineligible for. Hunting them also craters the social safety net. This is how the billionaire class divides and conquers." So, newsflash, not only are all of these illegal immigrants not paying taxes, but in fact, they're actually leeching benefits at the expense of the American taxpayer. And we know that to be a fact. All of this information is now public. It's all been exposed. The Biden administration, alongside the Democratic Party, had an intentional and explicit goal of replacing everyday Americans with immigrants from the third world and to make American taxpayers pay for the entire process. So I have to say, it's absolutely astounding to me that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is still out here trying to push this entirely debunked progressive narrative that illegal immigrants are actually beneficial tax-paying members of society, just like the rest of us. You know what, folks? Even if they were, even if all of these illegal immigrants actually did create a tax surplus, and they don't, but if they did, I would still want all of them to be deported. If you enter this country illegally and disrespect our nation's immigration laws, I don't want you here. You don't belong here. We are a serious country with serious laws, and if you break those laws, you need to leave. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is why this entire situation with all of this Social Security information is so massive. Because now, President Trump has the names and addresses of millions of illegal immigrants. The Democrats' plan to fundamentally change the fabric of this nation, replacing everyday Americans like you and me with third world immigrants, has failed. Their plans have been exposed, and now all of their progress that they made under the Biden administration is about to be undone. Because now the Trump administration knows exactly where millions of these illegal immigrants have been living and what their names are, which means ICE can now begin systematically rounding up all of these invaders, and that's what they are, invaders, and getting them out of the country. So once again, if you're an illegal immigrant currently residing in the United States of America, if I were you, I'd get out of the country, because if you don't, the fine ladies and gentlemen over at ICE are going to have to help you leave. And I'll tell you what, this is long overdue, and this is why we all voted for President Trump. Why? To put America first. Now, folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates as it relates to all of this. So if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. If you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.